Welcome to Get Into Market. We have a special guest today, which we'll get to, I guess, in a minute. But this is a
It'll be
podcast.
20 minutes. We're
In
just going
20
to
minutes.
ramble.
We're going to ramble for at least half an hour before we introduce the guest and let her talk. This is a podcast about product management, product marketing. I think the idea that these are kind of fungible roles and establishing your value to the organization in these roles can be difficult. And so we're always trying to make sure that like the tagline is the job is real, but the role is negotiable. That's kind of our main tag. We have two taglines, which I guess we talked about, but yeah, so that's the podcast in a nutshell. I'm
great,
here with
buddy.
John. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I feel like the way that you talk about the show is really indicative about how you are doing today. And you seem to need a hug. You're good enough. You're smart enough. And we like you.
I never know what pop culture references you knew or or don't know. Like it never tracks for me at 100%. Like you referenced 30 Rock earlier before the show started.
Yep.
And now it's a Saturday Night Live reference. Then there are other times where like an entire like genre of movies from the 80s you have no reference point for.
I haven't seen anything. I saw Jurassic Park, the first one. I haven't seen a single one after that.
What year did you watch it in? Was it in color?
I think I saw it in the theater. There's a chance I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Which would have put me at like 9 or 10, maybe. I don't even remember what year it came out.
93.
I really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So too young to see that movie.
Well, my parents would not let me see it when it was out in theater, and that's like the only thing I wanted to see. Yeah. Yeah. I was a big Dino fan as a kid.
It was like Titanic for me.
Oh, yeah. I could have watched that. I chose not to.
Wait, did your parents not let you go to Titanic? And so you had to wait till you were an adult?
They tried to decide not to let me go, and then ultimately they did let me go.
It was your crippling fear of icebergs. They were just trying to watch out for you.
Yeah. That's just being kind. That's just good parenting.
Right. I'm not trying to traumatize them too young.
There's maybe a connection between when you saw Jurassic Park and if Titanic was the movie you wanted to see and couldn't, that landed us in the roles that we're in right now. Kyrie, welcome to the podcast. Thin stretch, maybe a little bit of a stretch.
I love it. I'll take it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes. Who is Kyrie? I heard, and you tell me if this is right or wrong, that
don't even let her talk for herself.
That your birth name was actually not Kyrie, that it wasn't until Kyrie Irving became popular as a basketball player that your parents renamed you and then just decided to kind of make the pronunciation different. Is that true?
That is exactly true. Yes. Yeah. Just to keep making it more difficult.
You were born Julius.
Julius.
Yeah. Julius Irving was your full name. And then they changed it.
But not to Kyrie.
Kyrie. Not to Kyrie.
Kyrie. Yeah. Kyrie, yes. Thanks for having me. Good to see you guys.
We have the great pleasure of working together. All three of us. We do work together a fair amount. More at like quarter end, I feel like. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
We work together a lot, but Kyrie's the only one with 8x11 white pieces of paper framed on her wall, which we're really proud of. So that's really great. You're doing a good job. You're also the most stylish, which I think comes along with the territory.
Nate has called me out so hard for these. They're texture, but I think it's all the smoothing that I'm trying to do.
Everyone believes you. Yeah. Everyone believes that they're an actual like textured thing, not just plain white paper. I don't think it's 8.5 by 11. I do think it's legal size paper.
A1.
And A1. And we got to see each other in person just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where I think we both learned, because this was pretty surprising, John, who always talks about his height, I didn't know that you wear Ron DeSantis branded lifts.
Yeah. You didn't know that you could get them.
Like an iffy 5'6" at best before the lifts go in.
Iffy,
and you're just a big Ronnie D fan, and went out and got you some lifts, and now you're 6'4".
There is an element of like, it's hard for people to know what it's really like to wear tall high heels. It really hurts your feet, and anyone that's worn high heels, it takes a bit to work up to that level of lift, and here I am.
Yeah,
that size.
Super proud. Still can't dunk a basketball, but you are pretty tall.
True.
With the lift, so that's exciting. What are you drinking,
and now
John?
you've got hammer toes.
Now hammer time.
Hammer toes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Not
That's
MC
what happened
Hammer.
to Paris Hilton when she was wearing, her stiletto heels. She ended up getting hammer toes. There's my
I
pop
like
culture
I
reference for
like
you.
that. Yeah, that's really not something that I would have known.
I had a second grade teacher. My second grade teacher was named Miss Hammer, and she was just a 20 something white woman living in Minnesota at the time, and we were fucking convinced that she was somehow related to MC Hammer.
Did she play into it? Like, was she trying to lean
I think
into
she
it?
just like could not understand like how we could possibly think that would be true.
Sure.
And his name is
Yeah.
probably also not MC Hammer.
We had no way of knowing that at the time, Kyrie. There was no Wikipedia back then.
There was no internet. Yeah.
There's no internet.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the first tape I bought was MC Hammer. It's a true story.
Really?
Big track or cassette?
Cassette. Could you buy portable 8-track players? Is that even a thing?
You could have it in your car. That's portable.
Sure. Yeah. No, cassette. Thank you for that, Kyrie.
You're welcome.
Kyrie?
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, did we introduce like what Kyrie does?
We did.
That she works.
No.
So, Kyrie, what do you do?
I'm a senior director of growth marketing at Insight Software, which is a financial software business. So I lead a team that's focused on driving demand.
So Nate's in product marketing, which we're still trying to figure out what that is. I'm in product management. We have a decent enough idea. Well, how does growth marketing, product marketing, and product management fit? Like, where is that a triangle? In my head, it's a triangle because there's 3 of us here. But is it actually a triangle? Like, how do you lay out just where growth marketing fits inside?
Maybe kind of more like a diamond, because we're forgetting sales, which I think is another, key
Never
aspect
forget.
of
John, you ignorant slut, forgetting sales.
Kyrie, that's an SNL reference. Thank you. I'm here. Okay, so we're forgetting sales.
We're forgetting sales. But yes,
Okay.
I think of it kind of like a diamond, right? We all need each other. Nate, all the positioning, all the market research, on building the product, building the dream, right?
Yep.
Marketing puts it out there, makes sure people know about it, care about it, love it. And then sales got to close the deal. So yes, I think it's a big diamond.
Big diamond, like a baseball field, John. So John and I have talked about this on the podcast, which is the idea that I don't think we got to these jobs with any sort of intentionality or these roles. Did you? Like, were you trying to get into marketing? Was that like a path you were plotting from college, or did it kind of happen by happenstance?
Yeah. I actually was a communications major because you did not have to take a lot of math. Not a math gal, more of a language arts person. That's my preferred subject. But so I was a comms major and actually specialized in PR. So like my college thesis was around the Chris Brown and Rihanna incident and kind of how all of that was handled. So I did not move out to LA or New York or kind of wherever you need to be for these jobs. And I actually graduated during a recession. So was kind of just lucky to get any job at the time. So naturally went into inside sales and hated that. Love my sales friends. It is not the job for me. So
that's funny.
Very quickly within a year, I was able to transition into a marketing role and loved it. Have been doing that ever since. So, but I do think that working with sales folks and, doing that job for 9 months really gave me an appreciation that I don't want to be doing that. And I'm much more comfortable in that supporting role, kind of partnering with sales.
Yeah, like a what not to do career path. Like, I know not that. Almost like coloring the negative of it. You're like, not this, not this. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So the going from PR to growth and demand, like, what is there a parallel between those things where you're like, we're just trying to get people to think differently about a problem set? That's a really weird way to phrase that because you mentioned a pretty dark example with the Chris Brown stuff and problem set. But like, what are there parallels between just kind of like PR for businesses, for celebrities versus like pure demand gen?
I mean, you're kind of selling a person, and their story and their image versus a product.
Well, you don't have to sell John on Chris Brown. Like, he's 100% in. Less sold on Rihanna, I think, but
yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think you said you're not a fan of his like rehabilitative efforts. You liked him pre trying to clean up his image. Yeah. So one of the things that we talk a lot about is AI. We talk a lot about AI, but I think in the whole, some of the things that get lost in kind of the AI conversation is roles generally have just changed over the past like decade or before. How has what a growth marketer is like, what makes a good growth marketer now? And is that different than what made a good growth marketer, 10 or 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I don't know that it's a lot different now versus 20 years. I think there's always been kind of an element of an art and a science where you're testing into things. You have to be a little bit creative. You also have to be analytical. Now, how that's showing up is looking really different now versus 10, 15 years ago, right? Even every single year. I'm even thinking back to, 2023 when AI was kind of emerging and, there was actually a big hesitancy and don't use it. Stay away from that. We need to put guardrails, guidance around it. And it's such a different story now, right? Around use it. Let's, make yourself be more
Yeah.
productive. I think there was a lot of initial use cases right around content and leveraging it for that, but thinking about how do we plug in more data and actually get some good insights out of this from an analytical perspective. I think there's just a lot of untapped potential there, so that's really changing the game and kind of how we're looking at it. But things that used to work no longer work, or we need to figure out new ways to do it, and AI can help in that case. And sometimes maybe not, right? Maybe sometimes it's actually changing the way that we're looking at things and breaking things like search engine optimization, right? I think that's like a great example of you never really saw that spend kind of going down until the advent or the adoption of AI. You just
Oh,
never
is
really
that
know.
is that going down? Like key paid keyword search specific for SEO is going down?
With the AI summaries at the top now,
Yeah.
so it's called
Oh.
AI optimization, right? So there's a whole different strategy. It's
Oh.
not that SEO is going away, but it was kind of king for such a long time, and you couldn't even imagine a world where this wasn't going to be the end all
Right.
and be all, the most of your spend. And AI has just really changed the way that we're using search and the way that we're researching products, questions, anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
All just think of like also thinking about all the cottage industry that popped up around SEO and that optimization, like those third party kind of small businesses that would help
Hmm.
organizations with SEO. Like I kind of wonder what happens to how quickly are they going to be able to kind of evolve to fit
Right.
this new mold that they have to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um,
That's
one
interesting.
one of the things that John and I don't have much experience in is the B2C space. I'm curious, like what you see might be kind of different challenges for growth marketers on the B2C versus B2B side.
But did you come out of that world? Or were you B2C first?
No, I'm pretty much B2B, solidly
Uh,
B2B. But I do think there's a lot to be learned from the B to C. In That's something I preach to my team a lot, right? It's like we're still marketing to people. We're still human to human. So I actually think that there's a lot that B2B can learn, has adopted, on just being more relatable, being more accessible, the way that people are buying things from a, B2C standpoint. They want to get their hands on it. They want to check it out. They want to hear what other people are saying about it. All those
uh,
principles are similar, right? It's just going to be a little bit of how it shows up. Then again, you also have B2B, right? These are expensive purchases. There's a lot of stakeholders into the mix. So it's going to fundamentally look a little bit different. But I think, in the way that we're talking to folks and taking ideas from B2C, I think there's a lot more untapped there.
like,
Podcasts, for example, right?
yeah. 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 Like, yeah. Any two idiots can just get recording and post and share some stuff with people. That's it.
That's
Like,
right.
is there a thread in your kind of like your message to your team and kind of your style of leadership that like the differentiation B2B to B2C is irrelevant? Like, just consider B to C. Like, just consider you're still talking to a person. Like, and that B2B versus B to C split is irrelevant. Is that like, are you going that far?
Go that far, right? Because there are going to be differences in how it's these the product is evaluated, whatever you're buying is going to be evaluated. A lot of times it's going to be an impulse purchase. So it's kind of funny, right? I'll hear people like, oh, we should be on TikTok and we should be promoting this on TikTok. Well, TikTok a lot of times is an impulse buy. It's something you can convince someone in the moment to make that purchase. It's not necessarily going to happen when you're buying, a $50,000 piece of software. So some of those tactics and the buying habits are going to be a little bit look a little differently, but to the point you just made, right? Why are we going to talk to them like they are a robot or that they don't have personal needs and challenges? And so I think that's a lot of what we're seeing and on the B2B side in general too, is just kind of humanizing that messaging. Let's not forget that we're selling software to people and we need to make their lives better because they do things outside of work too.
Does it change what you're measuring of your team? Like if you're looking at kind of your KPIs and what stuff, how much of that has evolved? Like we're just building pipeline versus we've got engagement versus we've got people going through different form fills. Like what of that has changed in your tactics in general, if anything?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Where you mentioned, right, being so focused on pipelines, so focused on, generating MQLs, sometimes you're forgetting around, hey, people don't even know that they have a problem sometimes. They don't even understand that there's a better way or that, how their peers are solving this. So sometimes we do need to kind of take a step back. Not everything is going to generate leads. Not everything is going to lead to a sale, but it's all kind of part of that journey. Building that awareness. I think I'm going to butcher the stat, but it's something like, 90%. I'm making it up. All right, this is a made up stat, but it makes sense, right? So, most of the time that you're marketing to people, like 90% of the people are not going to be in market at the time. It's around building that awareness, building that credibility and that trust so that when they say, oh, shoot, I do have this problem, let me go to this vendor or this person, I heard them talking about this. This is something that I need to check out further, right?
Sure.
One of the things that I really like working with you, Kyrie, and that I think a lot of folks in marketing struggle with, it's a tough learning curve, is marketers are often kind of on the defensive within their organization. And you do a really nice job of kind of standing up for the work that your team does, but also providing one, the data to kind of support where you're coming from on that. But two, I think there's a willingness for you to say it might be us. Like there might be some things that we haven't optimized yet, and that we'll take a closer look at. Where do you see that trust evolving within organizations where folks are kind of willing to look beyond just like the vanity metrics that marketing, provides and sort of quarterly reviews and that sort of thing, and understanding kind of like how marketing fits into a broader puzzle? Because there's a disconnect too between what an MQL really does for the business and what people think it does. And I think some of that is part of where those disconnects happen.
Time out. Can you explain to Nate what an MQL is? Nate and the other audience members first, just kind of like walk through some of that and then, yeah.
Yes, that's a good question. So an MQL stands for Marketing Qualified Lead. So it's essentially a contact. Yes, I know, Nate, you learned something today.
Thanks, John. That was helpful.
Yeah, so it's essentially a contact that has engaged with content, with our website, with the business in some form or fashion. They fit within the ICP, so there's going to be some behavioral triggers, there's going to be some demographic triggers, and then ultimately that kind of makes, hey, this is a good lead, someone that's great for sales to follow up with. That is an MQL. It then passes over to sales to pick up the phone, give them a call, type them up an email, keep following up until they get in touch. Yeah.
So going back to what you were asking, Nate, just kind of like how have you, because I've seen you do the same, be pretty effective at like, hey, we can try that, we can experiment here. Like, how have you built some of that? If it's pure experimentation, just willingness to do that, but like, how have you worked to, what things have you been doing with the sales teams or with whomever's asking for those metrics to kind of build some of that trust?
For sure. So a couple things to unpack there. I do think, around trust is huge. I think, Nate, you mentioned, right, that there's a lot of defensiveness. I was going to say defensivity. That's not a word. A lot of defensiveness.
Roll with it. 90% of people say defensivity.
defensivity. 90% of people say that. So you heard it here first. But there's some defensiveness, right? That there's a lot of work and effort that kind of went into this to making this come to life. And I think, trying to take feedback with a grain of salt, right? And understand that they're not attacking you and your work, right? And if we kind of try to come at this from a collaborative standpoint that we're all trying to make this better, I think that mindset helps. But I do think also just being able to say, yeah, I screwed that up, or you know what, I totally thought that was going to work this way and it didn't. You are right. And that kind of takes the wind out of people's sails a little bit because they're ready for you to fight and just kind of argue it. And ultimately, I think we're all kind of here to solve a problem together. And if I'm not doing something right, I want to own that, fix it, and move forward. And so I feel like that accountability goes a long way. And, Nate, I think same thing of you and same thing of you, John. Like, I do think that's why we work so well together, because there is that
2 out of 3.
accountability. Yeah, most of the time. But, there is that accountability. There is that kind of curiosity, right? On like, asking the question of, what could I have done better, differently? How could we improve this? Right. And just taking your ego out of it, I think is a big part of it. If you're a good marketer, you should always be testing things too. And, I've been wrong a lot. There's things that I think are going to totally nail it and they don't. So, testing things, coming back with data and, taking your ego out of the mix. I think those are all good ways to build that trust.
What's a marketing metric that people think of as like a vanity metric that you will die on the hill defending as not being a vanity metric?
An MQL. I hear that a lot, as we learned. MQL, marketing qualified lead. There's a big, what's the word? There's a misconception that marketers will just throw leads over to try to hit their goal and then they're done.
Sure.
I've actually never had a job where I'm gold on MQL. So we have an MQL goal, but the ultimate goal is on pipeline and revenue. So, I think there's a big misconception that, okay, great, we've hit our MQL number, we're done. Ultimately, a marketer isn't successful if those leads don't convert into pipeline and bookings. So, same team. We all want the money.
there is an element of like keep the end goal in mind of just like we're trying to get there. Yeah. That's a good call. Good talk. You said experiment earlier. Do you have a favorite experiment? Or like, hey, we did this and it either, for whatever reason, either proved you wrong and you were like, holy cow, that's really interesting, or you were like, I'm bringing my ego back to this party and I was right when the experiment showed it. Like anything that has been really exciting?
Man, I wish I could like remember the ones where I'm right off the bat. I usually remember the ones where I was wrong. That's the ones that stick with me. But I know I remember thinking that it would be great to get more views if we could kind of give a preview. And that previews of videos would lead to longer views, would lead to filling out forms, etc. Not the case. That was not the case. I was so certain that if I had, done these bite-sized videos that people would click, they would convert, tested it 2 or 3 different times. People wanted nothing to do with it. So you know what? I could be wrong. And I was definitely wrong in that moment. And, you run it. It was a failure. We're moving on.
That's funny. Do you have one, Nate?
Favorite experiment?
Yeah.
No, I am enjoying watching you continue to grow out this hair. Like, I'm very curious how that's going to shake out for you. That's like kind of a good independent variable.
This weekend was almost it. It was almost like.
Did you almost cut it?
Yeah. Have I worked with either of you with short hair?
No, but it's been longer. I can tell from your workday photo. So.
Yep. It's been longer. So we'll see what happens. My children have opinions on my style, and as you both know, they got a lot of work to do if they're trying to make my style any better.
Yeah, I'm sure. Kyrie, one of the things that we talk about on this podcast a fair amount is folks, I don't know how many listen to this podcast, but if they're earlier in their career, what to you makes a good growth marketer now? Like, what if they were being interviewed by you, not that you have any openings on your team or anything, what would they need to highlight to you that would kind of sell you on their abilities?
Yeah. I think it's really kind of the fundamentals. can you build a good relationship with sales? Because trust is huge and there's a lot of bad marketing and sales relationships out there. So being able to build the trust of sales, I think also speaks a lot to your marketing abilities as well, because the best way to build trust is to generate results. So if you can build the trust of sales, if you can hit your goals, pipeline and bookings, just your MQL goals, but making sure that they're quality leads and that they're converting and that that's what you're focused on. That is a question I will often ask during interviews, right? Is kind of a gotcha to see if they will focus on that or if they are ultimately focused on pipeline and then ROI too, right? So one of the great gifts of being a marketer is you get a lot of money to spend and you got to spend it responsibly because you only get so much and you got big goals. So you got to make sure you can squeeze as much as possible out of every single dollar. So um, those are kind of probably three main things I would look for in digging into those areas and to try to understand the experience related to
I,
those.
I didn't realize you have as much kind of budget mindset in what you're doing. Like, are you looking at kind of your spend? Where do we go? And kind of looking at that all the time? Is that a bigger
All
part
the
of your
time.
day? Really?
All the time. Yeah.
See, and you would
Especially,
ask, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, especially digital, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of money going out from a digital perspective. There is a
Huh.
ton of analysis going on. There's a lot of A/B testing, messaging,
Sure.
imagery. What is working the most for us, so
And
we can
and
drive as much as
down at
possible.
like an individual contributor level. Like that's the part that's interesting to me is like you're not just kind of like looking at that over the overall department, but individual contributors are running experiments and mapping that against their spend for different things and saying, "Oh, we tried this, it didn't work. Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to
Mm-hmm.
try something else." Wow, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, for
That's also
John's
one of
benefit, what is budget? Can you explain to him what a budget is?
That's really for my whole family's benefit, actually.
oh my
Did you know
goodness.
that, Nate? That individual contributors, like, is that? Am I the idiot in the room here and just didn't know that?
I think a common so one of the things I think is kind of funny about marketing is, and you and I talk about how we're cost centers basically, like
Mm-hmm.
is that marketing is like a government. Like their job is to take money and distribute it, and they're then held to like how they distribute that money. Like you can agree or disagree with how like a government or marketing
Sure.
is distributing their money, but ultimately like that's their goal. Um, they're really just out there spending money on stuff. And so what they're trying to do is like find that right balance between cost per lead and the quality of those leads. And I think
Yep.
that's kind of what Kyrie's speaking to is like, especially on the digital side, where you really have like direct access to those levers and kind of like where you're putting those ads and
Mm-hmm.
who's seeing those ads, especially if it's like ABM related stuff. You can really experiment with kind of like who you're trying to target. And I think that's sort of the thing that they're then measured against and trying to optimize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We gave
Interesting.
you this many dollars. How many dollars did you send back?
Yeah.
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 And can you make it more every
Yes.
year?
And
Always
yeah,
can you make it
always
more?
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, cool. So wrapping up, Kiri, I think you know this, but maybe you don't. Talk about lessons learned. It's a little bit of the curiosity, like, hey, what are we trying to trying to get better, trying to get smarter? What have you learned this week? Or Nate, you can start. I don't know. What have either of you learned this week?
I'll start because I don't want to put our guest on the spot, John. That's just kind of common courtesy. Fast Company had an article talking about job hugging is the newest career trend. Here's what it means and why Gen Z is into it. This from consultancy firm Korn Ferry. The article is by Grace Snelling, and basically the idea that like people are clinging on to their jobs for dear life right now. Like the kind of during the pandemic, I think there was a lot more job mobility, like folks jumping and job hopping for lots of very good reasons. But now I think just the level of uncertainty, the adoption of AI, it's creating enough volatility that folks are kind of leery of, I think, jumping into the job market. And so this article was just saying that folks now are less likely to sort of job hop or leave
Wow.
their current role. So that's my thing.
My brother-in-law is 22, trying to find a job, dual major from a good university, can't find a job, and he has a spreadsheet of every company and the amount of time and basically like a sales funnel. He's trying to get into sales of every lead he's, if he's like kind of treating each company as that, how much time he committed to each one. his average is something like 47 minutes per company, per application, per company, per application, same thing, I suppose. 250 applications has been sent in and has a very low turnover rate or conversion rate, I guess, in our little marketing terms. But pretty wild. And he's using AI for all of it. So
All about who you know, though. Work your network.
Yeah, he's working it.
Referrals make a big difference, I think.
John's not offering his referral code, but
yeah, you got to earn it. You got to earn it. Not even family. Yeah. Kyrie, did you learn something this week?
Nate, you actually kind of made me think about an article I read around quiet quitting and why people quiet quit. And I thought it was really interesting that they were saying it's as a parent, I kind of also understand this, that it's about exerting control where you feel like you have no control. So if the employee has been, kind of no perceived control on what they do in their job, is my job going to be taken away by a robot or AI? They feel like doing the bare minimum. And it was talking about, as a manager, if you can, inspire your employees, make them feel valued, and make sure that they understand that their work is really valuable, that actually leads to a lot less likelihood of quiet quitting. Which kind of makes sense. Like I said, as a parent, I sense when I don't give my toddler a lot of control, or even my 8-year-old, they will start, making their own control. So turns out we're all people and we all kind of behave that way. And so
this explains why John his team has that team chat about the quiet quitting chat. And that's just them sharing, their example of how they're driving John crazy with quiet quitting.
It's just called quiet quitting. That's got a picture of my face with an X through it.
Yeah.
It's going really great. It's going great. That's funny. I feel like I got to get new things that I learned because mine are not all that good. This week, I learned that batteries for appliances and lawn equipment and that sort of thing, very expensive and very easy to fix. And there's a whole YouTube channel this week. I learned how to reset my Ryobi battery that died. It's very, very straightforward. And it could have cost me $200 to build. But I didn't. But that's a worse example than quiet quitting and people not being employed. And now I feel like I got to learn better things. Like I just got to learn different and better things in my life.
Do you want me to give my original example? Because mine was about a hair splinter. So that's what I had learned this past week.
What is a hair splinter?
Do you know what a hair splinter is? You can get a splinter of hair in your foot or hand. A lot of times it happens to like hair stylists. They will get them in between their fingers, which is crazy. I cut my kids' hair because they can't hold still and it always looks terrible if I have someone do it. So I was like, I'm just going to go to YouTube, John, nice little tie back here. Learn how to cut hair, which I did. I'm YouTube trained. And so I cut their hair. Well, somehow my 4.5-year-old got a hair splinter on his foot. And you know how great kids are with getting splinter stuff out. Yeah. So he flipped out and we had to leave it in the foot for a couple of days. Well, come back a couple of days later, the splinter started out here and it migrated up his foot. What? And I Googled it and apparently they move when you put hair splinters in. And there was like a little trail up his foot where this hair splinter had carved its way out.
Gnarly.
And then I was able to like just pop it out and it came right out.
What if it breaks when you're trying to get it out?
Cut the foot off.
Yeah.
He
didn't threaten that. Yes. Yeah. He didn't find it funny. So, yeah.
Kyrie also did that. She doesn't like the amputation place nearby. So, a couple of YouTube videos later, she's swinging swords.
John has a bandsaw. He has 2 bandsaws if you ever need to borrow those for amputation.
Perfect.
I'm sure one of them's like already sterilized for amputation, right? You put amputation only on the bandsaw, so you know.
Yeah, it's the sterile one. Yeah.
Watch out for the bandsaw if he invites you to Matrix 2. So,
That's actually, that's really funny because I think, Nate, you've given me a lot of grief for the Matrix.
Well, this was your story, John, that she's calling back.
Now remembering.
You like literally kidnapped a person, a human being, John, and trafficked them across state lines to make them watch what might be the worst Matrix. I mean, the second and third one are both pretty bad.
Yeah,
but
it's a race to the bottom.
yeah. Yeah. No,
I forgot
that I guess
that I shared that story. That's good.
statute of limitations might protect you, but we will never
Mm-hmm.
forget.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell the story on the internet. I feel you both baiting me to tell the story, and most often I would, but this one will just let rest.
What if she's
mean,
watching right now and she wants to know, does he feel bad about
She's
the
not
alleged
Kidnapping me and making me watch the second Matrix movie.
That would be the major feedback of the whole situation.
Did you buy her
then-
snacks? An icy? Anything?
I don't know. An icy? This wasn't at a soda jerk. This wasn't 1950.
I don't think
They
they,
still
had
sell
ices
ices.
in 1950.
They still sell ices.
Really?
Thank you.
I went to
If-
Bad Guys 2 the other day. They still sell ices at the movie
I
theater.
also went to Bad Guys 2 the other day.
Yeah.
It was so-so.
It's okay. Yeah.
I've made better choices.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have.
it was not my choice, but
Yeah.
the kid enjoyed it. So.
We weren't there because
Wait,
we
you
wanted
took your young children to Bad Boys 2?
Bad Guys.
Bad
John,
Guys.
Jesus Christ, join this century.
Bad
I'm
Guys.
imagining
No.
you just be
No,
like, that's
Bad
my
Boys
voice.
2 from like 2003 came back into theaters, and we both took our kids to it.
They did
Yeah.
just make a new Bad Boys, like not that long
there's
ago.
nothing. Yeah, but we said Bad Guys 2, like the second one.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was not the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence film. No,
Which is a
It's
shame.
an animated kids movie based on a book series. John, read a book sometime. And it was.
Have
it
you
was
guys
okay.
taken your kids to see Face Off? Which is probably one of the best movies ever.
It is
Do
a
you
great
know this
movie, but no, we have not
Is this
let
another
the kids
movie you
watch
saw at
Face Off.
9 years old? Yes.
It has, I bet it's been a hot minute. Face Off, Nicolas Cage, John Travolta.
Mhm.
They flip-flop faces.
And act largely the same. So it is like Nick Cage acting the same pre and post op. It's really good. It's a good
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
Yeah. And
It's
also
so
John
good.
Travolta really goes for it too. It's a really great movie. It makes me want to watch it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's some really terrible John Travolta movies. I'll send them to you.
Phenomenon? You learned the whole Portuguese language on the way over here? Not all of it. Here I
It's a
am.
bad movie. It's a bad movie.
It's terrible. I
On-
don't know.
On the
I
Line
thought-
is worse. On the Line is worse. It's about him being a lineman, which is like people who go out and fix electrical lines in storms.
Tell us what linemen are. In storms? I don't think they do that in storms.
They definitely do that in storms.
Yeah. John, if the
After
power's out.
storms.
I mean, what if it's a long storm? They still got to go
Yeah.
out in the middle of it. Yeah.
John,
he does a
welcome to the
southern
world of
accent.
climate change.
Okay.
Maybe you
I want-
remember this from your
I
experience in
want
Helene
people
last
that
year.
knows to comment on here how often they think linemen go out and fix power lines during a storm. 0% of time during a storm. That's my theory.
I guess you should watch the movie. Maybe you'll find out. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two.
John
About
Travolta will
linemen.
teach us how to do it.
All right, that does it for this week's episode of Get Into Market. We're here
Cut it
every
off.
Tuesday. We're shutting it down. You can find us on YouTube and Substack and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can send us an email at getintomarketpod@gmail.com if you have feedback for John. Send John all your notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can do better.
Kiri, thank you. It's
Yes,
good to see
and
you.
thank you
Thank
to Kyrie for joining this bullshit. Really great to have her on. Yes, so much fun.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Nate, as always, good to see you,
Bye.
buddy.